let us know, and then we'll return your script to you some other way. Check it in. So that's for administrative issues. Let's get started with the material. Okay, so this is where you are. We've just covered Belmont Ford and Dijkstra, right? So I'm going to adjust things a little bit. I'm actually going to push all pair shortest paths from after MST to now. I think it's actually a better fit because we're doing shortest path. We might as well finish it off with all pair shortest paths. And it's a nice slight introduction to dynamic programming as well. Okay, so I'm pushing it forward. So that's what we're going to be doing today. Plus some revision of our previous topics in preparation for quiz 3. Okay, so by today you should know what all pair shortest paths problem is. How you can state it, and then you should be able to explain the Floyd-Warshall algorithm and apply it to ATSP, and you can analyze the computational complexity as well. Okay, so that's today's learning outcomes. So you know what the single source shortest path problem is. I give you a directed weighted graph, and I say, okay, what's the shortest path from S to T, right? Some source to some target, and you can tell me what it is. You can tell me what the minimum distance is, as well as give me the path, right? You can do path reconstruction. You can do even better actually. You can compute all the shortest paths from one source to all the other nodes in the network, right? So how do you do this? How do you do this? What algorithm do you use? All single source shortest path. What's the algorithm you use? Ford, right? So if you have non-negative, if you have non-negative weights, then you can do a bit better, and you can do Dijkstra. Okay. So there are special cases. Non-negative weights Dijkstra, but if you have a tree, if you use BFS or DFS order, you have DAX and topological sort order. Okay. So that's single source shortest paths. What if you have many queries involving many different source nodes? So this is something that, if you imagine you were Google, this is something that you really have to handle, right? And not everybody is starting out from SOC to go somewhere else, right? To all the other nodes. It's from many different sources, many different targets, right? So what we want to find out is how to compute distances between all pairs of nodes, okay? Between all pairs of nodes. So, what's the simplest solution you can think of, given what you've learned? So what you already know how to use Belmont Ford, you already know how to use Dijkstra. Can you use them for all pair shortest paths? What's the simplest solution? Yeah, so basically you run Belmont Ford for every node, right? You run Belmont Ford for every node. Or if it's non-negative edge weights, then you use Dijkstra for every node. Alright, so what's the running time in this kind of problem? So let's say Belmont Ford. What's the running time? VE, if you do it for V nodes, how long does it take? V squared E, alright? If you want to use Dijkstra, so Dijkstra is V plus E log V. If you run it for V nodes, then you just multiply the V in, right? So you get this, this is supposed to be, that's right. Okay, V squared plus VE log V, okay? So that's Dijkstra. So today we're going to be studying something called Floyd-Warshall. The Floyd-Warshall algorithm computes the distance between all pairs of nodes, alright? And it does it in a very elegant manner. So Floyd-Warshall is invented by Robert Floyd. You remember him? He's the guy who came up with the clever creation of heaps. So remember this slide from our lecture on heaps, alright? Actually, Floyd-Warshall algorithm is called Floyd-Warshall. Wasn't actually invented by Floyd. Okay, it was actually invented by Bernard Roy back in 1959. Floyd-Warshall reinvented it in 1962. Okay, but it was actually originally proposed by Bernard Roy. So I'm going to tell you a little bit of a side. There's something called Stigler's law of economy. Okay. Okay, so the law states this: no scientific discovery is named after its original discoverer. Okay, it was proposed by University of Chicago statistics professor Stephen Stigler. Unfortunately, or fortunately, Stigler said that actually this law wasn't invented by him. It's actually invented by Robert K. Merton, who was the original discoverer. So Stigler's law actually follows Stigler's law since it's not actually invented by Stigler. Right? So Stigler's law, it happens a lot. In fact, we'll see it again next week. And you might have questions. So do you think Belmont Ford was invented by Richard Bellman? Do you think Belmont Ford was Richard Bellman? It wasn't actually, right? Even though it's called the Belmont Ford algorithm. And it was invented a few years before. Okay, so what is the idea behind the Floyd-Warshall algorithm? The key idea is that the shortest paths have optimal substructure. We've seen this before actually. If the P is the shortest path, let's say from U to V to W, then P contains the shortest path from U to V and then from V to W. Alright, we've seen this before. Remember this slide from yesterday or the day before, or last week. Basically, if P is the shortest path from S to D, if P goes to X, then P is also the shortest path from S to X, right? The prefix. Okay? So we argue that this must be the case because if there is another shorter path, then it's better to take this path and then go to D. Right? So this can't be the case. Alright, so we are going to leverage on this idea, and we will see that actually many of the shortest path calculations depend on the same pieces. Alright? It will depend on all these smaller pieces, and we're going to put the smaller pieces together in order to compose our shortest paths. Right? Now the solution we're going to examine today is called the dynamic programming solution. Dynamic programming is not, it's an extra for this class. I'm going to not formally define it. I'll give you intuition about what it is, and when you get to a higher level courses, you study it with more rigor. Okay, but for now, I'll give you the intuition so you know what it's all about. So dynamic programming, the name is a bit confusing because it's not really about programming. Because it's historic. The reason for the name is historical. There's another field called linear programming, which involves mathematical optimization. So this title, dynamic programming, is closer to math optimization than it is to actually coding programming. Okay. It's called that way because it refers to a tabular method. What we're going to do is we're going to kind of store our results. Okay, we're going to store the results to smaller problems in order to figure out how to solve the big problems. Okay, so there are 4 basic steps. The first step when you're trying to do dynamic programming is to figure out what the subproblems are. I'll go into detail a little bit later. We're going to put the subproblem solutions together, and then we're going to recurse and memorize. Memorize is it's like memorize. Okay, basically we're going to store our results somewhere so that we don't have to recompute the solution. We can just look at the table or look at a hash map or something to retrieve that solution. Okay, because that piece is going to be computed so many times by different parts of the solution. We just want to reuse that answer, and then we're going to solve the original problem via the subproblem. So the key requirement for dynamic programming solution is what we call optimal substructure. In fact, it will be overlapping optimal substructure. Let's start with what optimal substructure is. Optimal substructure, the property is that the optimal solution can be constructed from the optimal solution to smaller subproblems. So you don't have to solve the big problem as a whole. You can solve little smaller problems and then merge it together in order to come up with a bigger solution. That's the idea. Now you've seen this kind of idea before, actually, when we were speaking about divide and conquer, right? When we were talking about merge sort, for example. But it also crops up in greedy algorithms like Dijkstra, and next week you'll see minimum spanning tree algorithms. Okay? Why Dijkstra is because, remember, the path itself contains other shorter paths, right? Okay, so let's look at merge sort in a bit more detail. So remember we looked at merge sort and said what we're going to do. We're going to split the array into 2, and then we're going to recurse downwards, right? And once you go all the way to the bottom, trivially, these 7, 3, 9, these are all sorted because they only contain 1 element each. Now, these smaller problems, right, they are the optimal solutions. So we're going to combine up, right, the optimal solutions in order to solve a bigger problem, which was to sort this matrix, sort this array, right? So we combine 7 and 3 to form another sub-problem solution, and then after this level is done, we combine it again, right? Combine these two to get another optimal sub-solution, and then we combine it upwards to solve our real problem. Okay? So you see what we've done. We broke it down, right? We found the solutions to the smaller problems, and then we combine it up. Right? We combine it until we get up to solve our big problem. Okay, so that's optimal substructure. Optimal substructure in the merge sort case looks a bit like this. Right? We broke it down until we solve each one, and then we combine the solutions. Right? So that's what we did for merge sort. For dynamic programming, very often we will have this the subproblems may overlap. Alright? It means that the solution for one subproblem can be used for two or more of the bigger problem. Okay? So this is nice because it means that we don't have to recompute a lot of the smaller problems. Right? Once you solve it once, don't solve it again. Right? And you can just use the answer. So that's why memorization becomes important because you want to just remember the answer. Okay, so it can be related in many different ways. So this is just one possible way, but it could look like this, where for example, this subproblem is used for these three bigger problems. Okay, so when you're looking at divide and conquer, there are no overlapping subproblems. For dynamic programming, there are overlapping subproblems, but both have optimal substructure. Okay, it's just how to use the optimal substructure depends on what strategy you apply. Okay, so many shortest path functions depend on the same subpieces. But the key problem is how are we going to define the right subproblems? If you don't come up with the right subproblems, you can't solve this efficiently. Okay, so Floyd Marshall and Bert Roy, they came up with a nice construction. Okay, so the idea is this. Let's define some terms first. I'm going to define SVWP to be the distance or the shortest path. So if I say distance, I usually mean shortest path, right? So distance is always the shortest of all the paths, right? From V to W that only uses intermediate nodes in the set P. So what does this mean? It means that S gives you the distance from V to W, right? And it goes through some of the nodes in P. It can go through all, it can go through none, but it goes through some of the nodes, if any, okay, in P. It doesn't require that you use all of them, all right? This is what it means, okay? This shortest distance estimate from V to W using the set P, right? Okay, so let's make it concrete. Let's use an example. So let's imagine you have this graph. Okay, so you have this graph, and there are three possible sets here. Let's just say there can be more, but let's just say we have three possible sets. P1, this set has no nodes. It's the empty set. Okay, when it's the empty set, it means you just go direct from V to W. Okay, so that's one. It doesn't use any other nodes. If you're P2, those are the blue nodes, right? So you go through that node, right? And your distance will be 80. Yeah. P3 uses the purple nodes. Okay, these are the purple nodes, right? So you can see that if you use the different paths, different sets, then you have slightly different paths here. So you have if you go to P1, then it's 1000. You go to use P2, then you get 80. If you use P3, then you get 30. Okay. So this is the path that only uses the intermediate nodes. Now, just keep in mind, I have to be specific. You don't have to use all the nodes, okay, in the set. So, for example, if P2, use blue. Okay. So if P2 also had maybe this node, let's say, and it looks like this, and this was maybe. Okay, so in this case, the distance, right, is still 80. Okay, you don't have to go through this node. Okay, you just say that, okay, I possibly can use the nodes in this set. Right? Okay, let's go to, sorry. All right, so let's start off with the base case. The base case is going to be the empty set. All right, the empty set then is just going to be a direct edge, right? Whatever that edge is, all right, is the weight from V to W. If there is no edge, then it's just going to be infinity. Right? There's no way to go without. If you can't use any other node, I have to go direct. So it's infinity. I can't get there basically. Okay, there's no other node for me to pass through. All right. So now the question is, which sets P do I need to check for graph with n nodes? So I give you a graph with n nodes, and I say I label the nodes from 1 to n. Okay, I need to check, right, these sets P for my shortest paths. So how do I do that? If I start off with the base case that P is the empty set, what do I have to check? What do I have to check? Can I just check P equals to 1, the set containing only 1? So that means those are all the paths that could go through node 1, right? Could I only check maybe all the paths that go through node 1 and node 2? No, I think that's not enough, right? What if your shortest path actually goes to 1, 2, 5, 10? That's it, right? That's not enough. So intuitively, what's the size of the set that we need to check? Maximum. N, yeah, because you can go through any of the other nodes. right? So actually, what we're going to do is we're going to check increasingly large sets. Okay, we're going to start off with the empty set, and then we're going to add one element, add two, add 1 and 2, add 1, 2, 3, all the way until n. Alright. So now it's like, what's going on here? Why are we doing this in this way? We'll see in a second why we're doing this way. So the way we are going to calculate these sets, alright, this shortcut is just using these sets, is to build up upon previous problems. Okay, you can think of this as to compute P1, we're going to use P0. To compute P2, we're going to use P1. Alright? So how are we going to do this? So assume that you've already computed, right? We've already done SVWP7. Right? We've already done this. Okay? How do we compute SVWP8? Right? So how can we compute the next if we want to add P8 inside? Right? So P8, remember, is P7 including 8, right? The node 8. So we're going to leverage an old idea, which is relaxation. There's no relaxation already. So what is the idea behind relaxation? Do you remember what's the key idea behind relaxation? What does it test? Okay, so relaxation says either there's some route to the node, right? Or I have to go through U to end up at V. Right? That's the idea. I first go through U and then I hop to V. Right? So that's the idea for relaxation. We're going to leverage the same idea. Okay? We're going to say, look, the shortest path is either going to go through this one of this set, okay, somewhere in this set, all right, some path in this set, or it's going to go through a minimum of that path or something else. What is the something else? So remember, I want to compute P8. So what is new in P8 compared to P7? 8, right? The node 8, right? So what this means is that I just need to check, right? If I go through 8 first, and then from 8, I go to W. Right? Start from V, take some path through 8, right? Through the nodes 1 to 7, right? Whatever that might be. And then from 8 to W. Okay, now here's the question. Should I use the edge from 8 to W? Should I use the edge from 8 to W? Oh, I see some nodes. You shouldn't. Alright? What you really want is to figure out the path. Right? You're interested in the paths. So you want to know whether it's better for you to go direct from V to W using P7, right? Or you go through, you have to use a P8, which is you use P7 plus 8, and then from 8, P7 to W. Right? So these are the two possible choices that we have. And we want the minimum of the two. And the minimum of the two is basically going to be stored in SVWP8. Right? Because it's basically, you go through 8 or you don't. Alright, if you don't go through 8, fine, you just use the previous nodes in the 1 to 7. Okay, some of the nodes there if necessary. Right? Okay, so that's the idea. All we're doing is something like relaxation, right? Except that now we are operating on sets. Alright, we're operating on sets of nodes that you could possibly go through. Okay, that your path could possibly use. So let's make it concrete with an example. I think things are usually more concrete with the example to work off. So imagine I give you this graph, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 nodes, and then they are interconnected in this way. So let's initialize. So we initialize everything with the empty set first. So basically it's just your edges. Okay, we just look at the correct edges. And you will have a table that looks like this. So what does this table mean? This means this is going to be my source, and this is going to be my target, right? So basically you look from, let's say you want to know the shortest path distance from 3 to 2, you look in this way. You look at 3 here, look at 2, and then you look at this value. Okay, so that's what we're set up. Now we're going to set things up so that everything is just the edges. So we just fill this table by looking at the graph. Okay, so let's say we want to know from 1 to 2, right? This is just this edge over here. So we put 1 to 2, we put 2, right? 1 to 3 is this edge over here, right? And there's a 1. And 1 to 4 is, there is no edge from 1 to 4, that's why it's infinity. Okay, so everyone clear on this step, this is our initialization. All we're doing is that we're just making a HCC matrix essentially, right? For our table, except that it's weighted now. Okay, it's weighted. with the infinites. Okay, so all right, now let's move on. Let's go to step 1. Now in step 1, we want to compute SVP1. It's SVWP1, right? Shortest distances from V to W for all pairs of nodes V and W that I have to use P1. All right, P1 is the set containing the node 1. All right, so it passes through 1 or not, up to you. Okay, whichever you may. So we're going to compute the minimum of VWP0, so it doesn't need to pass through node 1, or it has to go through node 1. So SV to 1 to P0, right? S from 1 to W, P0. Is everyone clear on this? So you just go through 1, you have to go through 1 or not. Right? And we take the minimum of the 2. That's all we need. Okay, so let's see how to compute this. So what you're going to do is for every, sorry, for every pair, you are just going to add in a 1, right, to see how that changes. Right, so we just do the direct computation. So let's take 4 to 2. That's easy, right? So 4 to 2, there is no back edge, right? There's no back edge to 4 to 2, so it's infinite, right? This is how we started. Now, this is going to be infinite here. And then we're going to look, all right, what's 4, 1, P0? So 4, 1, 4, 1, 4 to 1 is this, which is 1. Okay, and 1 to 2. So look at 1 to 2, it's 2. Sorry. 1 to 2 is 2. So we're going to add these two together. This is going to be 3. Okay, so the smaller of infinity and 3 is 3. Right, so this is gone. And I'm gonna hold this to 3. Right? So that's how you get the 3 over here. Are we clear on how to do this? So all we're doing is we're just looking up. We're looking up in our table. Okay, we're looking at the table whether it's better to go direct, all right, or pass through some other node. Okay, and in this case, the some other node is 1. All right. So let's do another one to make sure that we understand this. Let's clear this up. So let's do another one that changes. Okay, so we can do let's say this one, 5, right? So for the 5, so for the 5 previously is 5 over here, right? That's what is 5. Okay. Now we say, okay, you have a choice. You either can go this route or you go through 1. Right? So first you check. You go direct, it's 5, or I go through 1. If I go through 1, it's 4 to 1, which is here. 4 to 1 is 1, right? Or and then from 1 to 5. So 1 to 5 is 3. So 1 plus 3 is 4. I think the minimum of the 2 is going to be 4. Okay, so remember the key idea. The key idea is very simple, okay? It's either I go direct, I go however I've been going before, or I go through some other node. Alright? And then some other node is the one that I'm adding to my P, okay, to my set P. Alright. So let's make sure everyone understands this. I want you to try it out. Okay? So I've labeled I want you to try for this and this. Okay? So and you tell me what the answer is. So talk to your friend next to you. Let's make sure everybody understands this. So just compute what this update should be. Okay? For these two values here. I'll give you 2 minutes. Shouldn't take you too long. So give it a go. Just jot it down. Right? It's not hard. You just have to look up the table, right, and see what the values are, and then you just check the minimum, right? As if you have the minimum, then you just update the table accordingly. Okay, time's up. So let's look at this. Can someone tell me what the updated guys? Can someone tell me what the updated S value is for 13P2? What should it be? 1. Good. 1. How about 1 and 4?
6.
Okay, is that right? Yeah, right. Okay, so 1 didn't change, right? 1 didn't change, but 6 did, right? And to figure out, it's very simple. You just substitute inside, right? So basically, if I want to know 1, 4, P2, I just look from either I use 1, 4, P1, all right, which is in here, right? In this original graph, in this original table, sorry. So 1, 4, P1, and that's going to be 1, 1, 4, P1. Sorry, 1, 4, P1 is infinity, right? Or I look at 1 to 2, and then 2 to 4, right? So 1 to 2 is here, 2 to 4 is here. Okay, and you just take the minimum, right? And the minimum is 6. So good job. You now understand the basic elements of how the table is being updated, right? And the key idea behind the table update, right? So we just proceed along this step. We just increment the set P each time with a new node, all right? So now we're going to do P3, which is 1, 2, 3. These two nodes, these two estimates get updated, and I do 1, 2, 3, 4. Then these 4 get updated, all right? Now I finally do 5. 5 is actually not connected, doesn't link to anywhere else, so I don't actually change anything, right? So when you're done, you're finished, right? This table gives you the distance estimates from every node to all up to between every pair of nodes. All you need to do is just look it up. If I want to know how to get from 3 to 4, I just look here. 3 to 4, the distance estimate is 5. Okay, if you want to know the distance, the distance from 1 to 5, just look it up. 1, 5. The shortest path is 2. Distance 2. All right, that's all I have to do. I just look up this table. All right, to figure out my distances between every pair of nodes. All right, so this is different from Belmont Ford before, right? In that we don't just get from one source to every other node. Here is from all sources to all other nodes. So the key step here is to use our pre-calculated solutions to the subproblems, right? So here you notice that again we're doing something like relaxation. We either say we go through this set pk minus 1, or we use pk the distance to k first, and then k to w, all right, for some k as we keep incrementing on set size. So this is pseudocode. This is what it looks like, all right? It's very simple. It just formalizes what we just did manually a few moments ago, right? So first you initialize your S, all right, which is some array size b times b. So the number of nodes times the number of nodes, right? And then you're going to initialize, do your initialization. So you set your direct edges, if any. And then you are going to loop through, all right? So you're going to loop through from 0 to b minus 1, right? Because you're adding each node, right, to the set P, right? And for each one, we had to go through our entire matrix, okay? So that's how it works. First, you have to add you have to go through P0, P1, P2, P3, all the way to Pn, okay? And then for each one of those, you have to check each element in your matrix, okay? So that's how this works. And we check each element matrix again. We're just doing this simple check. What's this running time? Okay. So the running time is easy. If you look at this should be v squared, right? This part, we run it for v times, right? V times, and all together, you have 3 loops. Each of them of from 0 to v minus 1. So this is obviously going to be q. All right? You add these two together, you know that v cube dominates v squared. So the answer is v cube. So for actually not much more effort, right, than Belmont Ford essay, you can get a very nice all-pair shortest path. Right? So that's the beauty of Floyd Washer. So that's it actually. Floyd Washer is a very straightforward algorithm. Right? Look at it. It's just three loops, 4 loops, right, together. That's it. And then you can compute all pair shortest paths. So that's why it's a very elegant means of solving this problem. Okay, so now you know Floyd Warshall. You can state what all pair shortest path is, and you also know the computation complexity, which is OB cubed. Here's a question. Yeah, I should ask this question instead of you guys. How do you store the path? How do you store the path? So remember, you guys know how to solve the path for Dijkstra now or Bellman forward. How do you store the path for Floyd Warshall, this algorithm? How do you store the path? Any brave souls want to try to figure out how to store the path? Volunteer solution? So we cannot use exactly the same thing. So let's remember what we did for I think I have it here. Give me a second. Let's go back a few slides to the relaxation slide. Okay, it's a relaxation slide. Yeah. So remember, for relaxation, for Dijkstra and Bellman forward, how do we store the path? So every time we updated the distance estimate, we stored, hey, this is where I came from, right? If I want to store the path, and I can reconstruct the path after that, just following backwards, right? So in Floyd Warshall, can I do this? Can I do this exactly? So what do I have to change? Say again. Yeah, okay. So the key idea here is this. This is not enough because this is for one source. You need to store your parent for every possible source, right? So there's going to be, this is again you're going to, instead of storing it in a vector, you're going to store it in a matrix, all right? Where each matrix, you're going to just, for each node, you're going to just remember for each source, where is my parent, okay? And that's all you're going to do. And you update it each time that this min evaluates, that you have updated your distance estimate, okay? So that's all you need to do. Okay, so let's do questions. So if any questions, let's put it inside. Full screen. So if any questions, let's put it in, and then I'll try to answer as best as I can. If you have no questions, then we'll move on to revision. Okay? Excuse me. So everyone clear on oh. So what data structure should we use to store the path? Okay. Okay, yeah, I know that now. Alright, I'll change it to red when I go back, okay? This is easy. This one I've done, okay? I'll use a different dark green color. I'll change it. Okay. Okay. So let's do one by one first. Let's handle this one. So what's the problem with this statement? What is the running time for Bellman forward? Is VE, right? For VE, for each you run Bellman forward for V iterations. And each iteration you go through all your edges, right? So it's OVE. Now if you run Bellman forward V times, then you have V squared E, which is, in worst case scenario, your graph is dense. So there's an edge between every pair of nodes, that's going to be V squared, so you get V4, V to the power 4 complexity, all right? Which is why you shouldn't just use Bellman forward just like that. Okay, this is a more efficient approach, okay? So what problems are Floyd Warshall helpful in solving? Oh, lots. Every time you want to so for example, if you're Google and you have a map, okay, and you want to pre-compute all the shortest paths from one point to another point. So you keep that, and then you whenever somebody queries, you just look it up. You just look it up in the table. Okay, the shortest time you get from X to Y is 3 or 4, or whatever it may be. Right? So you use it to pre-compute shortest paths. This is also used, for example, in networks. So, for example, if you want to route a packet, right, in a computer network, you can use this as well. So there are many different applications. Every time you can model a graph, model a problem as a graph, and you need all pair shortest paths, that's when Floyd Warshall is going to be coming in handy. Okay. So this good, you guys answered your own questions. Okay, so what data structure would you use to store the path? You can actually store the path in, yes, another matrix. It's not a JCC matrix, all right? It's going to be a path matrix, if you will, or predecessor matrix. So for every node, right, it's the same thing, right? If you're, let me go back a little bit. So imagine if you, again, you had a matrix. You have a node, right? And this is the source, let's say, that you were interested in. So every time you do an update, let's say for node 1, right? And your source was, I don't know, 3, let's say. Okay? Then, sorry, this will be 4, right? Then if your distance estimates change, you will also change the predecessor for this cell. Okay, so if you were node 2, right, and you were the updating for the source was, let's say 3. Sorry, let's say I can't use 3. Then I would update this cell. Okay, so you can use a matrix. Okay. Oh, okay. So this is a good question. Adjacent matrix is a 2D matrix, but adjacency means it's very specific meaning. It means that you're storing the edges. Alright, the edge information, that's the adjacency matrix. A matrix is a more general term. A matrix can be, essentially you can think of it as a 2D array of numbers. Okay, so that's a matrix. So there's a different, adjacency matrix is a special case of a 2D matrix. Okay, that's done. Let me just close these. Let's see. Hopefully that's helpful. Okay, so if you ever saw the path in a path list, you can do that. Okay, you can do that, but usually it's not computationally efficient. All right, it's not storage efficient because if you can imagine this, for every source and destination, you have to store an entire path, which can be very expensive. All right, so this is why usually people don't do this. People store it in a matrix form. Okay, so that's question. Oh, I think that's the same one. All right, so let's move on. So I'm going to talk a little bit about quiz 3 and do some revision. Okay. So quiz 3 will cover everything up to single source shortest paths. It will not cover Floyd Warshall. It will not cover minimum spanning trees. Okay. There will definitely be no dynamic programming. Okay. What will be focused on is hashing, graph searching, and single source shortest paths. Right. So everything up to yesterday's lecture. So here's some general advice. Really, you have to understand and analyze the problem well. If you can do that, you are 50% to 90% of the way there. Okay? So it depends on the problem, obviously. But yeah, very often when we grade, the mistakes that happen is usually not because you don't, it seems like you know the algorithm, but you got one part wrong because you didn't read the question properly and you made some assumptions that you shouldn't have. Okay? So you have to read the question very properly. If you're unsure of anything, please just ask. Okay? We are always here. Just raise your hand and ask. Okay? If ever there is ambiguity, just ask. No harm. Alright? The solution is usually not obvious at first, so it may require some thinking. But you can do it. I'm sure you can do it. Alright? The best solution is often not obvious. So the way we grade is this. Correctness is the most important thing. So once you get the correct solution, that's great. That's like 50% really, right? Correctness. Then you try to improve upon it, right? So my advice usually to students is work through all the correct solutions first. Then after that, try to improve upon your answer. If you don't know, sometimes it's obvious to you. You see a problem, you've seen it before. You know what the most efficient solution is. You just write it down. Okay? But if it's not, then don't get stuck. Right? Think about the most obvious solution first, and then you work your way from there. Okay? So we'll work on some of that today. So let me do some revision on hash tables because there were a few feedback quotes about hash tables. So I'll just quickly go through this, and we'll ask questions later. All right. All right. So hash tables. Remember the special thing about hash tables is that they really give you this nice average in O1 insert time and search time. Right? What you give up, of course, is that you no longer can do your ordered operations well. So if you want to look for something smaller than, or larger than, or maximum, minimum, no go. Hash tables are not your friend. Okay? You want to use something like a AVL tree, okay, or red black tree. To you. The magic of hash tables really is based on the hash function, right? Other than that, it's just a table essentially, or if you use a separate chaining, there's a table, a list of linked list, but it's nothing more special than that, right? It's very standard kind of thing. The magic thing is, of course, in the hash function. In the hash function, what it serves to do is to transform your key, which can be quite complex, right? It can be a string, it can be a very large number, it can be a document, right? Into one of these, a number representing one of these m buckets, right? So that's the idea, right? So that's the idea behind the hash function. Now, we typically assume that computing the hash function takes O1. So for example, in your test, you can assume that hash function takes O1, unless explicitly we say no, right? You can assume it takes O1. But this is not true in practice, of course, as you guys have realized from your tutorials in DGs, right? Okay, so let's look at a hashing example. We're going to hash K1, right? Imagine the hash function tells you 2, so you put that in bucket 2, right? You hash K2, which is key number 2, and that tells you 8, so you put in 8. If you hash K3 and it also tells you 2, then you have this collision problem. Remember we talked about? So two distinctive keys, K1 and K2 collide if the hash function tells you the same bucket, right? So we have to deal with collisions, and we learned about 2 ways to deal with collisions, right? The first is chaining or separate chaining. And chaining is very simple, right? Instead of storing just one element per bucket, we can store multiple elements per bucket. And the way we do that is to put it in a linked list, okay? So you insert K1, you insert K2. If there's a collision, we just add it to the linked list, no big deal, right? So that's separate chaining. And to analyze separate chaining and open addressing, we leverage the simple uniform hashing assumption, SUHA. Okay? Imagine this is a optimistic assumption. It just says our hash function is really good. Okay? Our hash function is going to put every key equally likely into every bucket. Alright, so this is what SUHA says. But of course we don't often get this in practice, but we don't, this is still an assumption. Alright, so it may not happen in practice. So that's what I'm going to say. That may not happen in practice. So if you have SUHA, then for separate chaining, then you're going to have this nice O1 property, right? Because your array access is very fast, and your linked list traversal also will be very fast, because if your load factor is low, okay, if your load factor is low, then you're going to be able to have very small number of elements in each of the buckets. Okay, so that's the idea. This is the more formal analysis. If you want to know like how to do this, like step by step, next time we can go through it later if you want. Okay, but it's not necessary in fact. The idea to remember the key idea. What's the key idea? The key idea is that every bucket is relatively small. Okay, if you keep the load factor low. Alright, so then we moved on to open addressing. Open addressing, there were 3 techniques we learned. The first was linear probing. So linear probing is very simple. Every time there's a collision, we just keep moving until we find an empty cell, and then we just dump the stuff in the empty cell. Right? It's very simple. So this was the formula for linear probing. We just keep incrementing our step until we get to an empty cell and put the stuff inside. Right? So very simple. The big problem with linear probing was primary clusters. Right? So essentially, if you want to put a new key inside, what's the likelihood that you bump into cluster A or cluster B? And there's a higher likelihood that you can bump into cluster A, right? Because cluster A is very big. So that's going to make your problem worse. How we dealt with this initially was to figure out, okay, maybe we can come up with a better technique instead of linear probing. And the natural thing to do is to try quadratic probing. So instead of taking step sizes of 1, you square your step sizes. Okay? This is a better probing method, but it's not the best probing method that we have, because you have this secondary clustering problem. Because you only have m possible probe sequences. Right? Once you figure out what your base address is, these sequences is always the same. Right? Every node, every 2 keys that map to the same initial base address will have the exact same sequence, right? So you're going to, if you map here, for example, you're going to jump here. If this is empty, then you're going to fill up this spot. So you can imagine that it will start growing as you put more and more keys into the hash table. Okay. All right. So a way around that was to try double hashing. Double hashing makes use of 2 hash functions. The first is to give you this base address, and the second is to figure out your step size. Right? This gives you up to m squared. Right? M squared sequences, which is very nice. Okay, so this is what we were trying to gun for. But for this to work, you need to be very careful about your choices for your hash functions. You should make m prime number 1, or your thing should be your table size should be prime. And your hash function should be smaller than n. Your hash function 2 should give you a value smaller than n. Alright? And it shouldn't be 0. It's obvious that it shouldn't be 0 because step size, whatever step size times 0 is 0. Right? So that won't lead you anywhere. So don't give 0. So one technique is to use this hash function, right? Where b is chosen to be smaller than m, right? So the h2 is always smaller than n, and you add 1 to avoid this 0. Okay? Now, is there any other constraint for b and m? Is there any other constraint you should think of that may help you here? What do you think? So b and m should be relatively prime. Okay, b and m should be relatively prime. If b is smaller than m, then it's fine. Okay, but b and m should be relatively prime. Okay, so let's do a quick poll for questions on hashing. I know that most students, at least in previous years, found hashing to be perhaps more difficult topic, but in the exams usually it doesn't turn out to be the case because you end up just using the hash functions. Maybe if you are called to analyze the hash function, that might be a bit tricky. Okay, so let's see. When is quiz 3? Quiz 3 is on, I can't remember the date, not next week, the following week. I don't know. Will you be asked to create your own hash functions? No. Okay. So let me just be very clear. Creating hash functions is, in practice, hard. It's not easy to get a good hash function. I think some of you realize this when you're doing speed demon already, right? So if you are asked to create your own hash function, I won't go crazy about this. Okay. What I will most likely ask you to do is to analyze some hash function. Okay, tell me, you know the properties of good hash functions, so you can tell me whether you think it's a good or bad hash function. Okay, so that's fine. Who was speed demon? As I just said, right? This problem, speed demon, wasn't created by me originally. It was created by self-giver, right? When he was teaching 2020. So I asked him. We asked him, how does Java hashing handle collision? Actually, somebody asked me this, and I haven't checked it out yet. So I'll check it out and then let you know. Yeah. Okay. Alright, I think we've ended the questions. Let's move to the next thing. Alright, so that was the previous part of hashing, which is just about the hash table. Then we moved on to talking about hash functions, right? How to design good hash functions. And so there were two of them, two techniques that we were discussing. One was division and the second was multiplication. Okay? And the key idea is they look something like linear confidential generators, which are pseudo-random number generators in your computer. Okay? And this is the form for pseudo-random number generators, the LCG generators. So we learned about the division method, which is just given by this formula here. The hash is simply the key modulus by some m, right? And it was important that m do not share common factors, because then you wouldn't use your hash table efficiently, right? You would skip over some of the cells, right? Because they share common divisors, okay, divisors. So that's not good, right? So we need to choose m, so there is no common factors with any k, and I think you know what that is, and you have to choose m to be prime, okay? In practice, this division method actually is popular and easy, but sometimes not the most effective. And remember, it's slow because you can't do shifts anymore, right? So this division method is very simple, right? But had this caveat, right? You need to choose m to be prime. Now let's look at the multiplication method. Now this slide tended to confuse people, so maybe I'll go through it a bit slowly, okay? So what you're going to do is you're going to fix a table size to be n equals to some to the power of r. You pick what r is, okay? The word size is the size of the key in bits, right? This w. You have picked some constant a, which is within this larger than 2w minus 1, right? This is the low bound, and this is the upper bound. Okay, it's less than 2w. Then once you pick these things, once you already pick these things, right? All you need to do is to compute the hash. Is you multiply a and k together, and then you modulus by 2w, right? To the power w, and then you do a shift. Alright, and then you do a shift. And the reason why you do a shift is because you only want r bits at the end. Okay, remember your table size is 2 to the power of r, right? So you want r bits at the end of it. Okay, so this is what it looks like pictorially. Imagine if I already multiply a and k together, and this is what it looks like in binary. Okay, so these are the bits. These are the bits representing AK. And AK will have at most 2W bits. Alright? I'm going to just modulus it by 2W, so I'm basically going to only take the remainder, so I'm getting rid of this side, I'm only taking this portion. Right? This is W bits long. And then I'm going to do a shift. Right? So when I do a shift, what happens is that I push this part away, this part disappears, right? So I'm left with only this portion left. Right? So I change the color, I promise to change the color, red, okay, red. Alright, so remember first you multiply 2W together, that gives you this long, I'll say, prelude to a key, if you will. Okay, so we're going to get the bucket out of this, right? The way you get the bucket ID out of this is first to do a modulus, right, to give you W bits, and then after that, you're going to do a shift, all right? So that's the steps involved, right? So step 1, step 2, step 3. Now, this slide also confused people. We said, okay, I asked the question, what happens when A is even, all right? So when A is even, it's not good because in one possible case, let's say A is 2, right? Let's just say A is 2, right? It should be bigger, but let's say A is 2. You're going to lose one bit of information. Why do you lose one bit of information? Because you shift it, right? You shift it. So that's a bit of a problem. So what you're going to do, if your A is large, even number, let's say this is your number. Okay, you can try multiplying any key with this number, and you're going to see that you're going to have a bunch of zeros sticking at the end. All right, we've lost information by using this value. Okay, and if you use this value, what happens is that after you finish your process, right, you're going to end up with 2 zeros here, and these 2 zeros are basically like meaningless. For every key, it's going to have these 2 zeros. You're not going to be able to use your hash table efficiently, and you've lost information about the key, right? So this isn't good, right? You don't want to use even numbers in general, and especially not these large kind of even numbers. They don't lead to good outcomes. Okay, so try to don't pick A to be even. Essentially, pick A to be odd. All right. So Gnu recommends certain values for A, and this is what he recommends, which is remember related to the golden ratio. All right. And you don't have to remember this number. You don't want to, but just remember that A should be chosen to be odd, for example, but not even. Okay. All right. So that's essentially it for hashing, right? You know these two methods. Again, you're not expected to know all the derivations or things like that because hashing will be an advanced topic. You come back and look at hashing later, all right? During your course, if you so choose. But most likely you will look at hashing again. And then you will learn about all kinds of different kinds of hash functions, also their properties. Maybe you will be using them for things like locality sensitive hashing, for example, which is way outside our topic. So this is meant more as an introduction to hashing, and you know what they are and how you can use them in hash tables. But deriving a hash function is currently outside the scope of CS2040S. Okay, you just need to know good properties. Okay, so these. Okay, so any other questions about hashing? Yeah, okay, yes, I'll get better. If A is odd, then the numbers at the end will be 0, 0, 0, 1, for example. I don't understand that exactly. So what are you saying? Are you multiplying by 1? Or multiplying by some number, I'm not sure. So basically, for 1 and then you shift right, then it also becomes 0. Let's look at this again. So I'm not sure I understand the question, but if you shift here at the end, or you shift right, you're getting rid of this. So can you see that? Yeah. So you're getting rid of this portion, right? So I'm not sure the meaning. Right. So again, this is so I'm looking at this question. Let's see, what's the usual word size to choose? Our word size is usually defined by your computer, how much space you want actually. So usually it's the bits in your computer, okay? But by what do I want, sometimes you use embedded systems and then you don't have 64 bits, let's say. You might have less 16-bit or 8-bit, then that will define usually your word size. Why do we mod by 2W and left shift instead of 1 2? I also had this question and honestly I don't know the answer. So we'll get back to that next time. Okay, this one things are stuck. Oops. Do that? Okay, I'll get back to this. I don't really know this answer, right? I had this question right before when I was preparing these slides as well. I was like, actually you can actually just left shift by 1 by 2R. But I think that in that particular case you will sacrifice some other things associated with the key. Okay? What is the number is even from 1 in the dark blue for LSB? Is even but 1 at the top. Wait, let me go back. Okay, 1 is even but the dark blue. Okay, so essentially if it's even, but dark blue, let's just say it's even, you have 1 here or something like that, right? Then unfortunately even numbers always cause a shift, right? When you multiply by k. So when you multiply by 2, for example, that will leave the shift, and then you lose that information. That's why it causes a small bit of information loss, right? Okay, multiplication, here we go. That. What is R again? R is the choice of your table size here, all right? So you pick R effectively. R is just going to be your choice. You pick the table size, right? Your table size is defined implicitly by R. Okay, so let's say you pick R is 2, then your table size will be 2 squared. Okay, if you pick R is 5, then it's going to be 2 to the power of 5, going to be 2, right? So that's going to be implicitly define your table size. How do we do that? Okay, it's a bit. All right. So let's move on. Okay, so let's look at the problem and let's try to utilize what we've learned. Right? So this is a warm-up problem. It's called nearest repeated words. Right? So imagine if I gave you this text. Right? I'm so happy we're getting more problems solved. Nothing pleases me more than solving problems. I love solving problems, especially tough problems. The harder the better. Give me more problems. Okay, so imagine if I gave you this text and I say that I want to find, right, for every word the distance, okay, between the word and the closest repeated word. So imagine if I have the here, right? I want to find the closest the to, okay, when it's repeated, right? So how can we do this? So we want to find the most efficient method, and you can assume that the words are given to you in a long list, all right, in a long list. So it's not in a paragraph list, but in a long list. So every word is in its own index. And I want to solve this problem. The question is how to do this effectively. Right? So usually in exams, I don't ask you to provide pseudocode. Sometimes I do. If I ask you to provide pseudocode, please provide pseudocode. If I tell you not to provide pseudocode, you don't have to. Okay? If you provide pseudocode, please comment your pseudocode. Sometimes it's very hard to read the pseudocode, so you have to please comment. It really helps us out. Okay? If you understand your solution, sometimes it's very hard for us to give you points. Okay. So let's try to figure out how to do this. All right. So let's do this together. This difficulty level is 2 out of 5. I would say this is a relatively easy problem that you should be able to solve. Okay. So what's the first idea? What's the first idea you could try? What's the most straightforward method? Right. Most straightforward. Let's say I'm going through this text. Right. What's the most straightforward method? So let's say I happen upon the here. How do I find the closest repeated the? What do I do? Yeah, okay. So basically you can check. Just search, right? Search for it. You just search for word, for example, and you update the minimum if necessary. So that's the easiest way, right? So assume the words are in the list, and you maintain some minimum distance, min. Okay? I'm going to look through the words. For every word, right, I find the closest repetition by scanning forward, right, in the list until the same word is found, say at position J, right? If the distance is smaller, then I update my min. Okay, so that's very simple. It's not very efficient, right? It's not very efficient. Is there a better way to do this? So if you do this, this is like the straightforward solution. maybe we can do a better technique. So what is a maybe faster way to do this? But how to use the hash table is the question. So how can you use the hash table?
What is the key? Index.
Yeah. So you use the word as a key, and the index. The word is the key. But what are you trying to store?
Index.
Index of the word. Okay. Which word? So, sorry. This previous solution uses ON squared. Can we do better? Now, for this approach, we were scanning forwards, right? We're taking a word and we look forward until we find something, and then we say, oh, we update our daemon, right? This wastes a lot of time because I always have to keep scanning forward. Is there a better way? Can we prevent scanning forward? So how can we prevent scanning forward? You look back. You look back. So you look for the last seen position. So as you go through your text, right, I just need to hash my words and store the index where I last saw it, right? And then when I do that, all I need to do is to look up the word in the hash table. Now, if the word is in the hash table, then I just check the distance, right? If the distance is less than what I've seen as my current distance, less than my current minimum estimate, I just update my minimum estimate, right? And then I keep moving forward, and then I update my hash table and keep moving forward. Right? So this works because once you find the last seen point, right, you don't have to look further than that. Whatever is repeated before will be definitely further away, right? So you only need to look for the closest, which is the one that you just last saw. All right? Up to that point. So this is much faster. What's the time complexity for this? Assuming that your hash lookups are O1. Okay, so looking through each word takes n time. Oh, that was weird. What happened there? Okay. So we assume the hash function is 1. If that's the case, then if you just look up, it's just on, right? If your hash function takes more than O1 time, then you just multiply it by n, right? Because each time you do a hash function lookup, right? So straightforward. If you do this, you get full points. This is for a full point solution. All right. You use the hash table, you get ON solution versus ON squared, right? Which is much faster. Okay, so any questions about this particular problem? So this is from the previous one, right? I'll check it out later. Okay, if the problem is changed so that I can query for the distance for any word, can we just maintain additional hash table to store the daemon for each word? Well, to update your distance estimate, you need to know the index as well. So you need, when you do a lookup back, you need to know where was the last seen repeated word. So if you don't have that, you cannot update your distance. You cannot compute, no, you cannot update your distance. Okay? What is a tray? So a tray is what we covered last time. I didn't do it this time around because the TA said it's not really worthwhile, so we decided not to cover it. A tree is it's a data structure that allows you to do prefix lookups and things like that very quickly for strings. All right. I will go into detail about other tries because we leave it outside 2040S. Okay, so tries for now you don't need to know, but they're very simple data structures. They're just like trees, except for at each index you store a character. Okay. What about the extra question regarding limited memory? I'll leave that for homework. Okay, that's interesting. Okay. For R Netflix, then your index calls R, which is table size. Okay, I don't know that, but maybe you send me email, I'll put up Piazza, and then I can take my time to look at it. Okay? Okay, let's do graphs. Okay, let's do graphs. So, let's do a quick review of graphs. So, graphs, you know the terminology. You have a graph with nodes and edges, right? And there are other terms as well that you should really know very well. You should know the degree, diameter, what a connected graph is, what a clique is, line graphs, you should know all of this. All right. So the formal definition for undirected graphs is simple. We just have two sets, one containing your vertices or nodes, and one containing your edges. Okay. And remember that we typically work with simple graphs, so there are no sub-loops, and there is only one edge per pair of loops. Okay, so this is what you typically work with. Directed graphs are a little bit different. In directed graphs, the order matters. Okay, it's from one node, in this case from V to W, and not from W to V. Right, so the order matters. We talked about two ways to store graphs in the computer. The first is the adjacency list, right? So adjacency list looks somewhat like separate chaining, right? Like every cell here is a linked list, essentially, right? For every node. So here it says A to E, A to F, means that A is connected to E and A is connected to F. Adjacency matrix, we've seen recently, all you need to do is just put 1 whenever there's an edge, right? Or 0 otherwise. If you have weights, right, you can either put the weight number or sometimes by convention you put infinity for basically there is no edge. Okay? Alright, so for searching on graphs, we learned two basic techniques. The first is breadth first search, the second one depth first search. So breadth first search is very simple, right? We just have to maintain a queue, and for every element of the queue, when we pick it out, then we visit its neighbors, right? If they haven't been visited before. What this results in is this kind of search, right? Where you do with Y search, right? So you go through all the neighbors first, then the neighbors, and then until you find the element that you're interested in. Depth first search was different. Instead of using a queue, you use a stack, and because you use a stack, then you go deep, right? You go deep until you cannot go anymore, then you backtrack. Okay? And this results in this kind of behavior rather than breadth first search. Then we use the techniques breadth first search to solve topological sorting, right? So we address topological sorting, where the input is simple, it's just a DAG, right? Where we assume it was represented as an adjacency list, and then the output was just a node, the list of nodes in topological order. Remember what topological order is? It just means that no node in the list can have an incoming edge from a node that appears later in the list, right? You cannot have that dependency. Right? That's not allowed. So we looked at two different algorithms, one inspired by BFS, which is Khan's algorithm. Remember what we did? We just looked at which node doesn't have any incoming edges. Let's take that out, remove all its outgoing edges, repeat the process until we're done. Okay, it's B plus E. There was another approach that we looked at, which was DFS. Instead of adding the first node, right, for looking for the first node, the first thing we should do, we look for the last thing we should do, right? And we put that in the topological order list, right? So these are the two kind of techniques that we looked at. Then we moved on to weighted graphs, and weighted graphs brings us to our most recent lectures, Bellman Ford and the special cases, and today's lecture on more best order graphs. Okay, so that's essentially a quick recap of stuff that you'll be looking at since hashing. Right? So those are the things that perhaps we'll be focusing more on for quiz 3. Okay, so any questions about graphs on this? I don't like graphs. Oh. Graphs are, sorry, not this one. Graphs are very useful. You should get to love them. There's a higher level course on graphs too. I think it's a 5,000 level course. That's what I said, and it's also quite fun. Okay, it's quite fun, right? How will graphs be tested on quiz 3? I can't answer that. Graph remedial. If you want to do remedial, that's fine. Please. If there's a lot of interest in graph in the remedial before quiz 3, we will do a remedial before quiz 3. Okay, to check with the TAs. All right. What does the longest, shortest path mean? So you've studied shortest paths, right? So among all the shortest paths, which one is the longest one? So imagine you learn about all pairs shortest paths today, APSP, right? Among all the pairs that you've seen, what is the largest one? So you look through your matrix and you get the biggest element. All right? Graph matrix and Y axis. Yeah, different sort of graph. Okay. Memory usage of graphs, is it OV plus E? It depends on your structure, right? So if you're using a adjacency matrix, what is your memory usage? B squared, right? It's just a big matrix with all B nodes and V nodes, so it's B squared. If you're adjacency list, then it's OV plus E, alright? Because you need to store V cells, and then for each of them, you store your edges in those linked lists. What is the time required to pass PS3? Okay, so I'll leave that for later. The reason is that we usually look at the cohort. Let me say that most of you will probably pass because we don't have strict timings. I think Ryan has code that works within 3 seconds. but we're not holding you to that 3-second mark, right? It's going to be different. Also, you shouldn't. I think it was maybe this wasn't clear, but your timings on the leaderboard are approximate because they work on some server that we don't control. When we actually get your real timings, we download it all to our own machine, a local machine. We don't run anything else on it. We just run your code and we get your timings there. Okay, and we run it on different test sets as well. Alright, the test sets that are on the server are not the whole test sets. We have much larger test sets that we use offline. Okay. So the timings are whatever I say is probably not going to be correct anyway because I can't see it from there. Okay. Is PS4 all on route 0 hashing? Most of it will, I can't say that for sure, alright? Because it's mostly on graphs, but hash tables may come in handy for some problems. I haven't checked some of the problems. How do you maintain a visited list? So, that's a good question. So how do you maintain a visited list? You guys know how to do this. I don't need to answer this. How do you maintain a visited list in a graph? That's it. What's a good way? Okay, good. You either can keep a boolean flag in your node, let's say, right? So you just do node.visited and you set it true or false depending whether you visit it or not, alright? Or you have a hash table and you just look up the node in the hash table, alright? During maybe one of the special topics, I'll cover a different kind of structure that allows you to do lookups a bit more effectively, alright, than hash table. It'll save a little bit of space, okay? Maximum minimum effort. Maximum effort, alright. Define a cycle in an undirected graph. It's the same, right? The cycle is defined in the same way. Any 3 nodes which are connected together like that, or more nodes, right? You can link back to the source. That's a cycle. Okay. Where a graph, you do the path, there's a repetition. Okay, it's going to be a cycle. Do you get full grades if it's slow? Oh, okay. So the way we do do you think it is slow? Okay. The answer is how efficient do you need to be? Efficiency is relative. Okay. So every problem we put a different efficiency on that. Typically, if your solution is very, very slow, it's probably not the right way to go about it, right? Very often you can improve on it, right? We're looking for the best solution that you can think of, right? I don't want to say it's the best solution possible, because sometimes we don't, the best solution possible is outside of the scope of CS2040S, so we don't look for that. Of course, you provide it is great, but we don't usually hold you to that standard. Okay, it's not right to hold you to that standard. Unless suppose you're asking me about word choice, which is that you can think of. So yes, that you can think of, then we're judging how good a solution you can think of. Why is more than times? So what you need to do for Belmont 4 is because what does Belmont 4 give you? Does Belmont 4 give you from one source to one destination? It gives you from one source to all destinations, right? To all destinations. So that's why you only need to repeat it p times, because you need to repeat it once for every source. You don't have to repeat it once for every source and target. Okay? Just once every source. Okay? Do you usually represent weighted graph? You can, right? As I mentioned before, you can put the weights inside. Usually you use infinity to represent there is no edge between 2 nodes. Okay? So you can use it to do matrix. Or maintain a visited class parameter to each cell, or have the other call modifier visitors. You can use either. It depends on application actually. So if your graph is very, very big, you can think about this, right? If your graph is extremely big, you need to do visited. Sometimes it's not good to have a global source, for example. If it's distributed, for example, you may not be able to do that. Okay? So it depends on, this depends really on case by case basis. So it depends. So PS3, we have to look at the level of incorrectness. Okay. Usually, the test cases that are on the separate server, they're not actually different. They're not testing really new stuff. All right. Most of the correctness tests are on. I think the correctness tests are already on the server that you uploaded to. All right. The other server tests larger test cases usually. BFS on a weighted tree versus BFS on tree. Yeah? I don't know what question that means. Okay. I don't know why Belmont to score. It's not b to the power 4e, it's b to the power of 4. Right? So why b to the power of 4? Is because it's VE, right? And you times b squared e. In the worst case, e will be b squared. Okay, because you have a dense graph, then you get V4. Okay, so it's V4, not V4E. Right? Okay. All right. So time's up. I had one more problem to have. This was optional. I didn't know that whether I would get to it or not. But I'll cover this part on Longest Path and scheduling later on. Okay. Next week or the following week. Don't worry, we have time to cover these problems. Okay, before quiz 3. Okay, I'll see you guys next week. All right, for MSTs, students and tricks.